We are going to start talking about order of operations, which most of you know of as PEMDAS. So the first thing I want to point out is that when we have our multiplying and dividing, they have arrows above them. So that way we know which one to do first. And then adding and subtracting also has an arrow above it. So that way we know which one goes first as well. So we can write our order of operations, and we can write it two different ways. So the first way we typically see it is PEMDAS. So we can write it, the P and the E never change, so those are the same in both. But on this side, we can put multiplying and dividing, adding and subtracting. So the typical PEMDAS way, or as we talked about with our arrows on multiplying, dividing, adding, and subtracting, we can switch those. So on this one, I could switch the D and the M and the A and the S. So instead of PEMDAS, we have PEDMASA. But we do know from up there that we go from left to right when we multiply and divide. On both sides, doesn't matter which one we start with, we both go left to right, and we also do that with adding and subtracting. We go left to right, okay? And then the last thing that I want to add is I'm gonna go ahead and put my symbols when I multiply and divide, or divide and multiply. And then if I have adding and subtracting and adding. So that way we can just remember those are the symbols that we're gonna use, okay? So let's use that strategy, and we are going to go on the inside. So in example number 1, I have 16 plus 2 times 36. Remember, a dot means to multiply. So I have adding and multiplying. So I have more than one operation. So I need to use my PEMDAS. So I am going to write my P and my E first. Okay, so now I have to do my M and my D. I want to decide which one goes first though. In this problem, I have multiplication first. So I am going to go ahead and put my M and D. And then I have adding first, so A and S. So the basic PEMDAS like normal. And then I'm going to circle what I have in my problem. I have adding and multiplication. I don't have any parentheses, exponents, dividing, or subtracting, so I can go ahead and get rid of those. These are my only options, multiplying and adding. So first thing I need to do is I am going to do the first step. So we always start at the top of PEMDAS. My first thing that I see circled is my M, which stands for multiplication. So I'm going to put a box around my multiplication. Notice I did not put it around the symbol, I only put it around the multiplication. So I'm gonna do 2 times 36 and bring that down. 2 times 36 I know is 72. Okay, once I'm done with that, I am going to mark it out and rewrite the rest of my problem. So I have a plus 16 that goes back in front. Okay, then I am going to check, do I have any more multiplication? No, all I have is adding. So I can get rid of that multiplication, and then I can do my next step, which was add. So I'm gonna put a box around it so I know which step I'm on, and I'm gonna solve that. And 16 plus 72 is 88. I'm done with that, so I can mark it out. Okay, and then I don't have anything left, so my answer is just going to be 88. All right, so in the next problem, I have 6 parentheses 11 minus 5 times 9. So remember, we have nothing in between the 6 and the parentheses, so that means to multiply. So I have multiplication, subtraction, and another multiplication. So when I have more than one operation, I have to write my order so I know which one to do first. We always start with P and E. In this one, I have multiplication before division. There is no division, so I'm gonna put my M and D. And then in this problem, there is no adding, but subtracting is in here. So this time, I'm gonna put my S first, just so I know that I'm gonna do my subtraction first. Okay, then I'm going to circle and mark out what I have and what I don't have. So this parentheses does not count. This is just saying it's an 11. There's nothing happening inside of it. So that does not count as a parentheses. There are no exponents. We haven't learned that yet. I do have multiplication. I actually have 2 multiplications. There's no division. I do have subtracting, and there's no adding. So the only things I need to do is multiply and subtract. So let's go ahead and do that. So starting from the top, the first thing I see is multiplication. So I'm going to do my first set of multiplication. I'm going to put a box around that. 6 times 11, there's no negatives to deal with here, so it's just regular multiplication. 6 times 11 is 66. And then I'm going to mark that out and rewrite everything that's left. So I have minus 5 times 9. Okay? Now, I am still on multiplication. I have to check, is there more multiplication? Yes, there is back here in the back. So I need to put a box around my other multiplication. Again, do not put the symbol in the box. So it's just 5 times 9. 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, I'm done with that multiplication, so I can mark it out. And then I can rewrite everything else. So I have a minus 66. Okay, so now I can check, is there any more multiplication? No. So it's done. All I have left is our subtraction. So I don't know that. So I'm going to just go to the side and work it out. I have 6 minus 5 is 1, and 6 minus 4 is 2. So my answer there is 21. Okay, go back up here and circle our answer. Okay, our last problem here, down at the bottom, I have 55 minus 7 times 3 plus 10 divided by 2. So this one has lots and lots of operations. So let's go ahead and start with our P and E because they never change. Now between multiply and divide, if I'm reading my problem, I see multiplication first. So I'm going to put my M and D. But when I'm deciding what goes first, my A or my S, when I'm reading my problem, I see my S. I'm subtracting before I add. So I'm going to go ahead and put my S and then my A. And that'll just help us remember to go in that order. So we don't have any parentheses, no exponents. We do have multiplication, division, yes, subtracting, yes, and adding, yes. So now we are ready to go through our problem and solve. So when I'm going down my row, I know I go left to right for multiplying and dividing. So I need to find what comes first, which we already wrote was our multiplication. So I'm going to put a box around my multiplication. And I'm going to solve. 7 times 3 is 21. Mark it out. And then I'm going to rewrite everything else. So I have minus 55. And then plus 10 divided by 2. Okay, I'm still on multiplying and dividing, so I need to see what comes next. I have subtraction, I'm not ready. Adding, I'm not ready for that. But I do have division, so I need to put my box around that. I'm going to solve. 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I'm done with that, can mark it out and rewrite what we have left. I have a plus 21 minus 55. Okay, I still need to check. Do I have any more multiplication or division? No, so I can finally mark those out. Remember, adding and subtracting, we do left to right. What comes first? So we already wrote subtracting because it's first. So I have 55 minus 21, and I don't know that one off the top of my head, so I'm going to work it out. 55 minus 21. So that gives me 4 and 3. So that gives me 34. I can mark that out and rewrite one last time. We have plus 5. And that is my last step of add. And 34 plus 5 is 39. So my answer here would be 39. Okay, so big things we need to pay attention to is multiplying and dividing can be switched, adding and subtracting can be switched. We do which one comes first when we read it like a book.